campaign where everything just completely went off the rails because the characters are very humorous in general, generally Sam. But what would be your favorite moment that kind of just completely, like, where you had no control at that point?
Oh man, there are a few. I mean, from a non-comedic standpoint, that would be probably the post-Comma Conclave Scanlan argument in Whitestone. Those of you who've seen it, I'm talking about, I had no idea that was going to happen. And it was such an emotionally tense and like unexpectedly so. This wasn't anything we talked about before, and just the conflict between all these people that love each other and have been working so hard on this, but meet an impasse, an emotional impasse, and one character's going through such a hard time in their story that it leads to this very emotional breakdown. That was incredible. Not comedic, but definitely off the rails in the sense that nobody expected it would go, and it definitely changed the nature of a lot of the coming narrative because it led to a few changes. No spoilers. As far as positive things, I mean, every shopping episode is off the path, and it's me having to, because it's different if you're like they're interacting with storyline NPCs that I've been planning for them to, encounter on a challenge or on the road. It's different when it's like, all right, you have a whole city to explore, and they're like, we're going to spend 3 hours talking extensively to every NPC that we're going to force you to make up on the spot. That's how Victor happened in Vasselheim. That's how. As you get to that point, later on in the last season, when Scanlan and Grog decided to walk through the city of Vasselheim, forgetting that Grog technically is still wanted, and then escalating very quickly into this horrible scenario of multiple guards being called to arrest them, like an illusory dragon attacking the center of the city, and then just going, just go, we gotta leave, we gotta go. I don't want to protect the city, but we gotta go. So yeah, that's another moment.
Power word nuke.
That's the player-triggered TPK?
Yeah, that was an old one. I've been gaming a long time myself. My current gaming group, we started playing in the early 90s, and we still meet fairly regularly on Saturday nights.
Great.
I played last weekend. No One All Flesh Must Be. We played that. We work in Pathfinder and D&D some too, but we play a lot of other things.
Awesome.
So, yep, one of our guys, he's our main game master. He's getting ready to retire.
Oh, wow.
Yep, so we're going to make you run more.
Yeah, retire with quotes, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So, question, you get to pick this one.
Okay. Let's do, let's see. You're squeaking so hard. Do you want to answer the question? Sure, yeah, all right, let's do it.
First, my Stroud Party says hi.
Hi, Stroud Party.
Also, so as a DM wife, I get to hear a lot of different scenes, and obviously no spoilers or anything, but kind of just your perspective and stuff. So I was kind of wondering, does Mercer get any scenes at all? Does she get to give input? Okay, well the party from the party side, that's how the session went. Maybe consider this. Is there any dynamic there, or is it?
Mercer, as a DM wife, doesn't get any spoilers at all. I'm very protective. I think I mentioned this last night with the Bullet folks. Whenever I'm writing in my office or putting together maps in our little miniature office room area, if she walks in the area, I'm like the kid who got caught masturbating. I'm like, go!
It's not what you think.
Very protective, covering everything immediately. And I'm really pouty if she sees anything. She's like, I didn't see anything. I'm like, sure. So I'm very protective. After a game, I'll the drive home every time. It'll be we get in the car and we're both we're still adrenaline pumping because it's just come off the game. And I'll be like, did you guys have fun? What did you like? What did you not like? I always want feedback. I want to know what things I could improve on, what things didn't resonate. And some things they'll be like, well, I was hoping for this, and it's kind of frustrating this happened, and I'll know okay. But there's an intentional reason for that. It'll come up in a few episodes, but I won't tell her that. But I take it all. It's all as input. But I don't want to spoil anything for her. She doesn't want anything spoiled for her, so she doesn't pry for information, and there's no dynamic in that regard. But I am open to listening to feedback. If anyone's really frustrated, I know that I've said some offhand comments on stream that in the moment got taken incorrectly by the community. She'll try to do something, and I'll say no, that's not possible. But I'll say it in a way that may have come across unintentionally you know, shitty. And then we'll see Reddit posts of like, oh yeah, that's right, man, tell your wife. I'm like, what? This is kind of massage. It's horrible. But you know, I'll say something like that, and she'll make me be like, oh, I know how the internet's going to interpret that. Like, afterwards, she'll like, I didn't appreciate using that tone. I'm like, I know, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it that way. So we'll talk through things like that, you know, like open line of communication. But yeah, beyond that, she knows nothing. No worries.
Next.
You take this one.
Let's see. You ran over there and had against the wall.
Obviously, there have been a lot of really great combat sessions. What was your favorite fight?
Oh man, one of my favorite fights still is from the Killbox episode. That was because it was a scenario where they were going into the city that had been completely overtaken by the herd of storms, the barbarian tribe, in the wake of the Chroma Conclave's destruction. So it was just all these very savage people that had just taken the center of this town that were just cleaning out the houses and rounding up the people, and it was a bad time. And Grog, since he had this background history, he was going to go up and challenge the leader, his uncle Kevdak. And I was in my head, I'm like, oh man, there are a lot of guys there. This is not a good situation to do. But if he manages to win a duel with him, that will change the dynamic. And so he goes in, challenges him, and does not do as well. And it's going very poorly. And I'm like, this is, oh no. And then he shouts for the rest of the party to jump in, which immediately goes from a one-on-one duel to the rest of the herd jumping in, and they all immediately swarm on Grog, and it's that I cannot express how close he came to death in that game, and it was through very clever use of Vex and her necklace and the broom that it disabled the scenario there as it happened, and it was such an intense battle that tactically was a very interesting visual scenario. I was super stressed the whole time because I was like, you guys are gonna get killed! But they did great, and yeah, that was a very, very memorable fight, I think. That, and I really enjoyed the Raishan battle on the island, the final encounter with her, because it's hard to encounter a dragon. It's even harder to encounter an ancient dragon with high-level spell casting who is improved invisibility and you don't know where they are. In the middle of a dark tunnel, and then they kill off you, and they kill your bard. And start breaking down the others. It's fun.
You're right.
I'm up. All right. Let's give some love over here. Right there. Yes. Fine. Oh, I'll get to you. But yeah, no worries. That's okay. We'll see you next. Yes.
This is more kind of voiceover related question.
Yeah, please. This is an open Q&A of me. I guess so.
Voiceover role for you was the one that kind of represented like a turning point. Like people really started like recognizing you afterwards.
Leon Kennedy in Resident Evil 6. I was still comparatively fledgling, and I've been working for a few years and had some good roles here and there. I was still kind of just trying to find something that really kind of cemented a place in the general large sphere of people going, oh, he's a professional. That's some guy. And plus the fact that Leon was a character that was already established was a very intense and very stressful situation. So it was having to step into the shoes of a character that everyone already liked, and the internet's just waiting for you to fail. And like, oh, they recast Leon. Let's get our pitchforks ready, boys. GameFAQs wants to see how bad he burns it. So it was really stressful, but at the same time, I took it as a huge challenge. The character that I loved, I wanted to bring the respect to, and both respect the previous performance and make something of my own. So I gave it my all. And when that hit, that was the first time I'd been invited to like a big game launch party at Comic-Con that year. And I was doing interviews for a game release, and people were like, oh my god, Leon's my favorite character. I'm like, mine too. Wait, that's me. So yeah, for me, that was the first really big turning point, I think. And then the next one that kind of blew up the convention scene would have been probably Levi for Attack on Titan. That one, I don't think anybody knew quite how crazy Attack on Titan was going to be when that hit. I was just like, ah! Whoa! Like I cleaned. But yeah, so that's probably those two. Awesome, thank you.
Okay, we can do the one who almost got started.
That's right. Sorry about that. I
Yeah.
I think as most DMs in here can admit to stealing most of our ideas from you.
Oh yeah.
Please do. don't know. A lot of them, I'm sure, are elements. I mean, some of them are things I've played in previous campaigns. You know, things that work well in other campaigns that you've already played. You will reuse those in games with other players that you haven't played with. Like there are puzzles and things I've used with Vox Machina that I've used in old campaigns back in the day. I've had elements from having GMs and DMs that I played with growing up, and I've taken cool elements they did in their campaigns and incorporated them and made my own. You know, there are films and shows I'm sure that influence, but like I guess because I'm kind of writing in a vacuum for when I'm creating my games, it's less of like me intentionally stealing a direct thing from something I saw, and more just a lot of things coming together and me taking inspiration from that and putting it in there. And if I were to look back on it, I'd be like, oh, I totally stole it from this thing. But in the moment, I don't think about that. You know, it's unintentional plagiarism. But like I have a whole host of inspirations. Other gamers I've played with, other streams, other great people that run race streams, and the High Rollers guys. Mark Humes is amazing. Of course, Chris Perkins is just an incredible person. It's like all these people inspire me. So I don't say I can't think of anything that I've directly ripped from them, but I'm sure if I look back, I can see there are probably a number that probably are that I didn't in the moment realize it was. But yeah, please steal ideas from other good people.
I had one once. A friend of mine actually introduced the Infinity Gems into his D&D game. I was playing a halfling wizard at the time. I had gotten the gem, and we were fighting a demon prince, Grozit or something like that.
Right.
And I said, "What happens if I will use the gem to will him out of existence?" He said, "Okay, 5 or less on a d20." I rolled a 3. The demon disappeared. The campaign ended for the night. He didn't know where to go. Okay.
It was a lot of fun until Thanos showed up.
Back against the wall. Yeah, with the red hair. You, yes, ma'am.
My friend's in the room, so treasure yours right now.
Never.
We're starting a new campaign with one of my friends, and
Oh, cool.
my character is a halfling monk. She's blind. What would be your advice to like really getting into her character and like the best of my ability?
That's a very good question. Well, it depends. There are ways you can talk with your DM to offset the penalties of the blind status if it's something that you feel is really going to be detrimental to you playing an effective monk. We recently had a guest character on the new campaign, Shikasta, who's who I think is here. Or no, it's another event. He's amazing, but he wanted to make a blind character, a blind cleric. So we worked out how it was. He would be a human. You want to play a human as well, and there's the human variant, which gives you feet. Then you can take the magical magic initiate. Thank you. Feat, which gives you a first level spell once per day. So he chose Find Familiar, and so with that he got a familiar, which he can then just focus his vision through. And that's how he had the hummingbird that he used to always set up in her chamber, and be able to walk in there and see just everything from the hummingbird's point of view and learn to fight from like a third-person perspective. So like for him, life looks like the old Resident Evil games. To bring it back. So that was one way of doing it. There's also talking with your DM to build a character that you can create feats if you want to that offset the condition blind. If you want to really kind of touch into a narrative that is more wanting to be in the shoes of and understand and kind of respect the person who lives with blindness as a disability, you can reach out to friends or people in the community who have that, and it's like what are the things that you think are a wonderful thing to learn and play through in this narrative, and you can reach out to them and how to incorporate that into your character's story, and that'll help you build a connection with and empathy with somebody whose experience you might not have, and vice versa. So depending on which way you want to go, there's a mechanical way you can do to offset that and talk with your DM to come up with unique ideas. Or you can go on more of the narrative aspect of it with it and trying to really step into that lifestyle. But mostly it just comes to talking with your DM and ensuring, oh, you are amazing. Sweet mystery of life, it must have found. So yeah, just consider those elements with your DM. And remember, if you start playing it and you feel your build really is detrimental to the point where you're not having fun, once again, talk with your DM and see if there are ways you can adjust it. Something that's people in the campaign that can offset that. Or just adjust the rules a bit to where you still feel like you're enjoying the play style, but you're not being a frustration to the other players or your own experience.
Don't be afraid to play it to the hilt either. Do full power into it and do everything you can.
I was planning on it. I was going to trip over things.
That's kind of fun too. There was a character that somebody played years ago where they were their whole character concept was they were a super clumsy rogue. Like they had a high, like from a statistics standpoint, they had a high dex bonus for the mechanics of the game, but their whole narrative idea was they were essentially Mr. Magoo. So whenever they hit somebody or did sneak attack, it was never intentional. It was then like stumbling over a rock and then tripping and hitting the edge of a table and a Rube device type thing knocks over the lamp, which causes this thing to fall and stab the guy in the back of the neck. You know, so you can still use the mechanics as they are, but the flavor from a narrative standpoint can be something a lot more interesting visual for you and the players. So you can always find that middle ground too. Awesome.
You're up next.
I'm up next. Let's pick in the back, right. Let's see, there appears to be a lightsaber of some kind moving through the air.
So, two-part question.
Yes!
One, did Terry ever publish his memoir?
I don't know, did he? We're playing in a wildlife campaign 20 years later. I don't want to spoil anything. But there are things in the world that people just make them across and know where they go. Second question.
The second part was what was the final title?
We'll have to see if that ever comes up.
Come across an ancient tome. No one knows where it came from. Next question.
It's actually called Ancient Tome. Not very thoughtful.
Back against the wall, the black looks like a hoodie or a jacket. There you go. Yeah.
How often do you find yourself creating new characters on the spot, and how do you decide what voice to give them?
I put it about half and half. I try and prepare on a very basic level NPCs that I can plug into anywhere, just so I have it in the back pocket. And so I have, I'd say, about half of them they run into, I have some level of preparation on, and then the other half are them going, all right, I'm looking around. Do I see anybody with who looks like they might work in the field? And I'm like, yeah. You look 2 blocks down the road and you see an older gentleman in a pair of what looks to be, farm overalls and dirty forearms, and is in the process of finishing loading a cart. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to him and ask him about his whole life story. That's where you get the Jamesons. So yeah, it's half and half. And as far as the voices are concerned, I talk to myself a lot when I'm alone, practicing voices and stuff is part of my job, and it's part of just my psychosis since childhood. So for me, I'm always very conscious of voices I'm used to doing, and I'll just try and pick something off the random tree that I've recently been doing on my own. Or if I've been doing if I'm in a regional area in my world that I've created, and I know there are different dialects that tend to lend to different lifestyles or different regions, I'll try and pick something close to that, and then add a texture or a vocal timbre that's different to things they've recently talked to. Because even if it's similar to a voice I did 2 sessions ago, or even an hour ago, if it's different enough from the last 2 NPCs that they've talked to, it already feels like it's a more diverse world as opposed to the last 3 you talked to all kind of sounded like this. Because then it's a town of this, and it's not as interesting. Yeah, good question.
You're up.
All right, let's go. You said with the red quick roll shirt.
One, I'm a radar main, and
Oh, thank you very much for the support.
IDM for the person I'm gonna marry. How do I avoid killing her character before the wedding?
I know this question very well. I myself was recently married in October. 21st.
Okay, my anniversary is October the 12th, so.
No, that's awesome!
October, guys.
October, yeah! But we got married 2 weeks after the campaign ended, and we got engaged the year before, so we had an entire year of course playing in a high level campaign with her druid, sometimes turning into a goldfish when she comes out. They were basically guys anyway, that's fine. So yeah, it's a stressful thing. But also, we've had very long conversations about that. I've been very, very careful to make sure she understands, and she's been really, I understand that I can't protect your character for the sake of the story. If it works out that way, it is. And, you know, understand that if it ever does happen, we're going to treat it respectfully. You know, we'll give your character a proper exit, and take that as a moment to be excited about the next character story you get to bring into it. You know, and then that next character, and this is one of the things I love about character death in these games when it does happen. I don't want it to happen, but if it does, it can be a really unique turning point for the rest of the surviving party, because now they get to go forward and continue a stronger cause with the memory of this friend they used to travel with. And there's nothing more impactful than going towards like a final battle in a campaign, and as all of your friends look together, and in that moment remember one of the, or a number of the friends they've lost, and shout their names at the top of their lungs as they charge into that final fray. Like, that is just, oh.
I was going to say get one of the party members in your group to do it, so that way you're on the hook.